log on and make sure it's working.
I let everything get scattered in the dust. I guess I'm not the fighter that I thought I was. Just because I can't find the shame in just walking away. I could stay, but there's no reason good enough. Maybe when the sun comes up again, I'll be right back where it all began. Maybe then I'll turn it all around and not let anybody down. Maybe we can find a way to mend. This is not the story that I thought I'd tell. Doesn't seem to me it's gonna end too well. I built it up so high, a wonder to the eye, was so beautiful until the day it fell. I'm sure that there's a lesson to be learned. I'm sure that there are pages to be turned. I'll just say goodbye, there's no need to cry. Maybe if I go, the trouble won't return. I let everything get scattered in the dust. I guess I'm not the fighter that I thought I was. Just because I can't find the shame just walking away. I could stay, but there's no reason good enough.
Hello everybody, welcome back to my Facebook Live series that I'm doing, discussing songs from my record, Beautiful Brand New Day. The song we're going to discuss today is The Fighter. A little heads up on what's been going on last little bit. We played the Opry last night with Charles Destin. It was always a lot of fun, and preparing for, there's a big conference that happens here in town called IEBA. It's an acronym for International Entertainment Buyers Association, and basically they buy talent for the following year, and we're preparing for a couple of really big shows, one with Charles Destin tomorrow, but the next day Six Wire will be the house band for another show where we'll be featured, and we'll also be backing up Scotty McCreery and William Michael Morgan, Lindsay L., Gretchen Wilson, and Thompson Square. So that should be a lot of fun. Getting prepared for that. I've been writing charts and learning songs like crazy, trying to get prepared for that. Been a lot of fun. We snuck off and went to Disney with Wrigley this last week and had a lot of fun. Drove a lot of miles, walked a lot of miles, but we had a great time. Anyway, so back to it. This song's called "The Fighter." It's another song that I wrote for a film. I don't remember the name of the film. It's brand new. It's an animated movie, and I believe it's a mouse who ends up being a hero, but he doesn't. The scene that they needed the music for was he kind of realizes that he's not really a hero, and didn't even ask to be a hero, and doesn't want to be a hero, and is having second doubts and doubting himself, and basically is giving up. And so that's kind of what this song needed to be about. And so it's a little bit broad as far as subject matter goes. And I had a title called "The Fighter," which I always kind of liked. I didn't know what it was going to be about necessarily. You'd think a song like that would be about someone who actually is a fighter, but I wrote this about someone who thought they were a fighter, but they weren't. And I had my muse was I had a good friend who was struggling with some things and trying to find his way and couldn't find his way and eventually kind of lost everything. And so that was kind of my subject matter for this song. It kind of made the song easier to write for me. Had a lot on my mind, a lot on my heart, and I really wanted to kind of figure out a way to get it out. And it's kind of what happened with this song. I just decided I was going to just use that as my subject matter, and it could be a little bit. These kind of songs, they're a little bit. They're hard to categorize. They're not really necessarily country. They're not necessarily pop or rock or anything. They're kind of somewhere in the middle of. They're just a song, and I don't really know. I don't even know what format this would fit in. That's kind of the common thread through this entire record that I did. It's not really, I would typically put it in the 6-wire pile if it's going to be something that's a little bit more, an edgy country kind of thing. But this doesn't really fit. Another one in this whole batch of songs doesn't really fit what 6-wire does, and they're hard to pitch around Nashville because they're not necessarily what's being played on the radio right now. So, and so that's kind of what this song is. So I used a special tool on this one, and I showed it to everybody last week. It's this little gizmo on the back of my guitar here for all you guitar nerds out there. This is called the Tonewood amp. And it's the coolest thing. It connects to your guitar, and it's got this little suction cup speaker that attaches to the back of the guitar. And then guitar plugs into it, so it gets input. And basically what it does is it puts effects, and it comes through your sound hole. So when you don't... I use a lot of effects when I play my electric guitar, and I play a lot of acoustic, but I just like where it takes you. A little bit of reverb. Here's without it. Here's with it. So I was kind of using that to kind of get me into a mood musically and sonically, just trying to change what I would play. If you have a lot of stuff going on with the hi Steve Hornby. If you have a lot of stuff going on with effects and things like that, I feel like I play simpler. I'm not trying to fill in all the holes because there's so much I have to. I just like the feeling of, like, on all my effects. On my electric guitar, there's always some delay and some reverb and things going on. Almost, unless it's specifically, I've got to make this sound completely dry, but that hardly ever happens to me. I've always got something going on. So this kind of helps me get to a different place. It's really neat. It's got delay and reverb and tremolo and different cool things. And then you can also take it and you can plug it into. I plug it into my phone, so I can't show it to you. I'm using my phone for the Facebook Live, but you can trigger sounds. So I can make a cello sound come out of the sound hole of the guitar, or a piano, or strings, or things like that, and it is really cool. So this kind of helped me go to like a little bit different place. The whole song is real swimmy, reverby. There's lots of ethereal stuff going on, a lot of droney guitars, high droney guitar things going on, lots of ooh and ah vocals, a lot of it's got a real country vibe to it, even though the song's not super country. But it's the train beat brush drums and the real acoustic heavy foundation of the song. But subject matter wise and the melody and things like that are a little bit more.
I let everything get scattered in the dust. I guess I'm not the fighter that I thought I was, just because I can't find the shame in just walking away.
You know, there's all these lyrics were not so much self-deprecating. They were more like resignation. You know, like I just. And that I think is what they needed for this character in this movie. They needed him to sound a little bit defeated and a little bit not feeling sorry for himself, but just really trying to be truthful with himself. I'm not the right guy to be leading this whatever it is, you know. And like I said, you know, I used a friend of mine that was going through some hard times and kind of gave up, you know, stopped focusing on what was really important, and so I kind of used that as my muse on this song. So it was a tough song to write for me because pretty personal thing going on. So when you listen to the song, if you download it, if you hear it, if you kind of keep those things in mind when you listen to the lyric, you kind of get an idea where I was coming from when I wrote it. And the good news is I sent it off to California, and they really like it, and it's hanging in there. I'm not going to know until after the first of the year what they're going to do with it, but I take a lot of shots at things like that, and for movie and film, TV and films, and don't get very many of them, you know, but sometimes you do. And this one's at the moment is hanging in there pretty good. So all you songwriters out there, if you want to take it to a different place and all you have is your guitar and you want, it's pretty cool. It's called a Tone Wood amp. I'm a big fan of it. Let's see here. You can change reverb sounds, and here's a delay. Kind of fun. Anyway, so that's the Tone Wood amp, and that is the kind of the story behind the Fighter. So if you listen to it, you kind of get an idea, like I say, you know, the things that were going on. As far as the recording the track, let me put this up here, and I'll turn this around so you can take a good look at the track here. Hang on a second, I got something going on my phone. All right. This is one of the songs, I don't do this super often, but on this particular song, I decided to double my vocal. Again, that's a very Beatles thing to do. Well, a lot of people do it, but Beatles did it initially, you know.
I let everything get scattered in the dust.
That's one vocal, and then here's another one.
I guess I'm not the fighter that I thought I was.
Pretty cool effect. But I just kept it real simple. This is another one that I played the drums on the keyboard. Oddly enough, it's it's a brush sounding thing, but I just, I was kind of on a roll and just kind of wanted to see what I could. So those are actually drums from a keyboard. So interesting. The vocals, I did a lot of harmony on this one. I love harmony, as everybody probably knows at this point. 6 Wire is based on harmonies, and
I'm sure that there's a lesson to be learned. I'm sure that there are pages to be turned.
And there's a lot of things like on the chorus, and a lot of it is more felt than heard. I say that a lot. There's a lot, things that are not really super obvious.
I let everything get scattered in the dust. I guess I'm not the fighter that I thought I was. Just because I can't find the shame in just walking away, I could stay, but there's.
And this is another one. Instead of doing an actual solo, I used vocals to be the solo.
Just walking away, I could stay, but there's no reason good enough. Maybe when the sun comes up again, I'll be right back where it all began. Maybe then I'll turn it all around and not let anybody down. Then maybe we can find a way to mend.
There's also a lot of cool little guitar things going on that are not super obvious. I'll solo those. So there's like this weird little droney guitar going on all throughout the whole song. I do a lot of things too where I put out like a pad, a real soft pad that you can barely hear this on the track, but if it's ever missing, then you can really hear it. And then the Mellotron, which is a very Beatlesy thing. Anyway, that's a few of the little tricks that are in that song. It's I like to, one of my favorite things when I'm recording things, or not recording things, when I'm listening to records. The Beatles were masters at it. The Crowded House, absolute masters at it. Groups like Queen, people like that. When you listen to their records in headphones instead of just on the radio in your car, you hear so much detail. You hear so many things that you didn't even know were there. I listened. I'm a huge. I've said it almost in every video. I'm a huge Crowded House fan, and there are new things that I hear in their records to the songs that I've listened to since the '80s that I hear something new, and I just think it's really fun to dig into music like that. I listen to music on a really deep level, probably a lot deeper than a lot of people do. Obviously, because I'm a music guy, but anyway, that's a little insight to that. I've been kind of I've been trying to answer some questions, things like that as well. So if anybody has any questions, I might see if Reagan, she's down there making chili, so getting ready for that. But I don't know if there's been any. I've been kind of looking a little bit on here, but I don't think there's been a ton of questions. But the next song I'm going to do on next Sunday. Well, here's what's going on this weekend. After we do this big show with Aiba that's coming up, then we go to Indianapolis and do a show, a private show with Six Wire, and then we fly to Rochester and do another show with, and we're the backing band behind John Elefante from Kansas, Mickey Thomas from Starship, and Lou Graham from Foreigner. So we got to get prepared for that. That's going to be a lot of very, very early travel, and I'll get back Sunday around noon, and we'll do my Facebook Live thing again on Sunday evening. The next song that we're going to cover is called "Unlucky Me," which is it's a very old song. It might be the oldest song in the oh, sorry, I'm getting a text from Reagan, and it went away, and I couldn't see it. So it has a question on it. So, oh, sorry, she has stuff on her hand. She's making chili. Hang on a second. I have a question, so let's see what the question is.
What is the best piece of advice you've ever been given or received? Best piece of advice you've ever received, either personally or professionally?
Best piece of advice I ever received, either personally or professionally. One was pay my taxes. That was a pretty good piece of advice when I was first, starting to make a little bit of money, But I guess there's been a lot of things along the way that people have said. I mean, a lot of, especially with songwriting and things like that. If it didn't come from somewhere deep inside you, then it wasn't worth writing. Or another songwriting advice that someone gave me is always finish a song, no matter if it's bad or not, which I think is the biggest bunch of crap. If it's a bad song, don't finish it. I've been writing so many times, especially when I co-write with other people, and we kind of go down the road together, and we realize down the road that it wasn't. This isn't worth finishing. Let's go eat lunch instead. So we, but I guess just try to find your personality with your music and things like that. That's what I try to do. That's what this record is. This is basically, it's got my personality all over it. And but anyway, was there anything else?
Do you prefer mixing in mono? Do you analog some at all?
A tech question. Do I prefer mixing in mono, and do I analog some at all?
That was my question.
Yeah, I bet. I do not mix in mono. I check in mono sometimes, but just to make sure I don't have any weird phasing things going on. Analog summing, most of you don't know what analog summing is. It's where you basically take all your digital outputs and put them through analog gear to make it all sound warmer and better. And it is a really, really great way to do things. I did a little bit of analog summing at one point, and I honestly, for what I do, I wasn't feeling a ton of difference. So I ended up not undoing what I did with the analog summing, because I kind of like having instant recall with the digital stuff. So I just I do my summing digitally in the box. So those of you that those tech heads know what I'm talking about. Those that aren't tech heads have no idea what I'm talking about. But thanks for the question. Anything else?
Well, I got off the live page, but now I can't see all the comments. I can only see like the 10 or 20 newest ones.
Oh, okay. Well, Reagan is having technical difficulties because she's chopping an onion. So.
And I'm crying.
And she's crying right now. Let's see what else we got here. I'm going to look down at some questions here. Did you use the Kemper on the tracks? I did use my Kemper on the tracks. Those of you that are wondering what I'm talking about is this bad piece of machinery right here. That is a Kemper, and basically it has any amp you can imagine in it. And I actually, when I bought it, I sold all my amps. I don't have. Who would you love to work with? You have not worked. I would love to produce Paul McCartney's next record. So if any of you know him, tell him that I'm interested. I'm sure he'll freak out and would just love to work with me. Tell him to friend me on Facebook, and we'll try to hook that up. I would just I don't know. I love working with all kinds of different people. Anybody that wants me to work with them, I'm always flattered. And working with Cliff Richard was an absolute joy. I love Sir Cliff, and I'd love to do something with Neil Finn at some point. Those are my guys. Huge fan. I've made it really clear. Let's see. Anything else? You don't know? Okay. Anyway, probably gonna wrap it up. Talk about King of All Things. Hey, Griff. Talk about King of All Things Lonesome. I wrote a song with my friend Tracy Nye, and I got it to Ronnie Dunn, who I was friends with from Brooks and Dunn, and he said, "Dude, this is like a few line changes away from being our next single." And I was like, "Well, change some lines and come on board with it." So he rewrote some of the lyric and made it better. Sometimes that happens, and you're like, you just want to get your name on it. But he actually did make it better, and it was really great. And then they split up, but he recorded it on his first solo record, and it's actually a bonus track if you buy it on iTunes. And I'm super, super proud of it. It's I produced it and wrote it, and it was a real treat to work with Ronnie. He's just, I mean, he put his voice on my demo, and it was like all of a sudden the whole thing sounded like a record. It was he's got one of those amazing voices. So that's that story.
What has been your best musical experience?
My best musical experience. Wow, that's a tough one. There's been so many amazing musical experiences. One of the ones that I was back when I was playing with Lee Greenwood right after the Gulf War ended. We got on stage with yeah. What's that? Yeah. No. That's and I can't believe I'm blanking on his name. Schwarzkopf, General Schwarzkopf, and we got on stage. It was the end of the Gulf War. Schwarzkopf was an absolute war hero, and he got up on stage with us, and it was pandemonium. The place was going crazy, and it was a chill bump moment. We played God Bless USA with him on stage singing along with his lip quivering, and it was just, and he played God Bless USA before they went into battle every time, and it was his theme song, and it was just one of those things. That was one of my, off the top of my head, that's one of my favorite moments ever being on stage. But was there anything else?
I think that's it.
All right. Well, let's see. Are there any more questions before I check out the Helio? Okay, I'm going to check out these tech questions from Brian Allen Bode. I appreciate that. Kevin Ray joined. Hey, Kevin. Haven't seen you in a while. Anyway, like I say, next week on Sunday at probably around 6 o'clock again, I'm going to be doing another one of these, and we'll be talking about Unlucky Me.
Are you doing Sunday again?
Maybe. I don't know. I'm thinking about changing days. What do y'all think about that? Y'all let me know. Maybe doing it on a Monday or something like that, but Monday or Tuesday. But anyway, if you have any questions, you can ask them to me on this comment thread, and I'll try to get to them next week. And I really appreciate everybody hanging out, and I'll see you next week.